I think there's something to be said for the fact that a lot of actors get told, if you're a serious actor, then you should only focus on being an actor. If you need to commit 100%, you don't need to get distracted. If you're focused, then you're taking your energy away from acting. And it's something about, because I've heard it many times from different people, and I think it's wrong, to be perfectly honest, because maybe that might have been the case, but the landscape has changed. The industry is changing. Yeah. People are making their own content, and they're getting picked up, and they're being developed into shows, and it is happening off a short film, off a web series. It's happening all the time.
You want to book acting work. We hear that, and we want you to have that. But here's the thing. The industry is desperate for leaders, for human connection. And that's what it really wants, even if it doesn't feel like that. And that's how you book work.
By taking you inside the craft, the casting room, and the business, and bringing other industry experts into the conversation, we really dig in. We pull back the curtain of the industry and show you how much power you really have as an artist. By bringing your humanity to the work and the industry, you become an artistic leader, the kind of actor who books work.
Nothing excites us more than seeing you express your unique artistic voice in the work and humanize the business.
And have all the tools you need to be a championship-level working actor at this very time in an industry that needs your voice and your leadership.
Industry and artistry. This is the only place you're going to hear this.
I'm Risa.
And I'm Steve, and this is the Acting Podcast from the BGB studio.
Creating your own work empowers you to take control of your career. Natalie Britton and Kate Hamilton have experienced this firsthand. They both started their careers as actors and are now well-versed in the fundamental shift that happens when you start making opportunities for yourself. They have combined experience producing over 17 award-winning short films, most recently under the umbrella of their production company, Queen's Gambit Films. And they are currently in development on their first feature and half-hour pilot. Their mission is championing brave new voices and empowering filmmakers to share their unique perspectives. Creatively, they pride themselves on telling stories that matter and giving a platform to material that needs to be heard, along with female-driven stories. We are also thrilled to have Kate and Natalie teaching at BGB with a 4-class series called The Producer's Lab, Making Your Short. Now, this is a crazy, exciting new class that will challenge, inspire, and empower you to get your idea from script to set and beyond. So more on this class is available in this podcast's show notes and on our BGB website. Kate Hamilton started acting at a young age and followed that passion to Boston University, where she received her BFA in theater arts. Her recent acting credits include roles on NCIS, Criminal Minds, and The Affair, to name a few. Known as the responsible, organized one among her artist friends, producing was a natural step for Kate. Her background in acting and writing helped her approach the work creatively, and her upbringing by her CEO mom in the Midwest equipped her with essential leadership and problem-solving skills and humility. She loves that producing means finding the most talented people for a job and then letting them do it. Natalie Britton is an actor, producer. She's originally from Dublin, Ireland, where she obtained a BA in International Business and Languages at Dublin City University. She subsequently received a full scholarship to study acting for 3 years at Alra Drama School in London and worked there for a few years before coming to LA. As an actor, her recent TV and film credits include NCIS LA, Fuller House, Doubt, Girl Boss, and a lead role in Vino, opposite Ed Asner. She began producing in 2017, and since then she's produced several multi-award-winning short films, including Sam Did It with Dominic Burgess and Alfred Molina, The Gleaner, and Egg Day. So in this podcast, Natalie and Kate talk about the challenges they faced as actors, challenges that launched their journey as film producers. They talk about their collaboration with each other and dozens of other artists, how their acting careers and creative lives have evolved through filmmaking, what it means to give yourself permission to do the kind of work you never thought you could, and how you need to hear the universe speaking to you if you just listen.
Yeah. Brilliant.
What is the real beginning of anything?
I love it.
Because there is no beginning or end. It's just one cycle of... What are you saying?
Getting deep.
Having a big
lot going on.
lot going on. Okay, here we go. Welcome, Natalie Britton and Kate Hamilton.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're excited to have you here with us as part of our BGB family. And your company, Queen's Gambit Films. Mm-hmm. And so Steve and I are here to talk to you about your journey and how your company came together and how you ended up in this place right here, right now. Mm-hmm. And also we're excited to welcome you as teachers. So you're going to be teaching a class here. We'll talk about that too. And you've already been introduced, but let's dive in we'll start off by identifying each of your roots that got you to this moment as movie producers.
Sounds very impressive.
Yeah, that's very official sounding.
But yes, and
it's true.
so it is.
We've done a handful already.
A couple of handfuls.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time about actors taking command of their careers and making their own work, which is true and something that is being talked about in the business all the time now. And what's exciting for us is that you dove into that and you're walking that walk. Mm-hmm. And it happened quickly, and that's impressive. And also, sets a great example for actors in our community and our audience, our podcast audience, to really see that and hear that and know what that means. So talk a little bit about where you were or where you've been as artists before you got to this place where you had that moment of, let's do something else also.
So I came from Ireland via London to LA, and as an actor trained in London, and then came out here and worked sporadically, I guess, as most actors do. And then I suppose a couple of years ago, early 2017, I got pregnant and started going through that year, and auditions just weren't happening as frequently as they were. And so I think it's a case of partly my personality and wanting to stay busy and have something, and thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to be auditioning as much going forward. And then a couple of friends at the same time had decided that they were going to start making their own content, because that started a few years ago, really. I think the push for making your own short films and making your own content was born. And they, one of them sort of said, hey, you'd be good at this. Why don't you try producing? And so I said, sure, I'll give it a go. And
why do you think that person said that to you?
I think there was a need, and I think it was a case of my skill set. I come from a business background. I have a business degree before I went into acting, and I'm sort of the organized one, and I get things done. And when people would contact me and say, hey, what do you think? Hey, can you help? And so a lot of producing is just putting a lot of stuff together, but putting the right stuff and the right people together efficiently and effectively. So I think the people, saw those traits in me. And so I was approached, and I did it for one friend. And then another friend was like, oh, you're doing this thing. I'm looking for a producer. Oh, I have a friend who's looking for a producer. And that's honestly how it started. It came to me. It wasn't something that I had wanted to do, but it came at a time where I was looking for something else. So it was a good timing.
And when you say you were looking for something else, just in as much as there are actors listening to this who are hearing from every different place that they need to make their own stuff.
Right.
But there's a bunch of emotional stuff involved in that. One is, does this mean I'm quitting? Am I admitting failure? Am I giving up the dream? What does my life look like now?
As an actor.
As an actor. And so what was that for you when you were, did it feel like, I guess I'm not going to get these auditions anymore? What was that in between, that space in between like for you?
I never felt like I was giving up. I felt like I was just adding. I was adding something else. A string to my bow. I'd always been interested in production. As an actor, I'd be the one on set, looking around, looking at what crew were doing, wanting to know who everyone was, and interested in the camera. And so I think that was always in me. And so I honestly, I think it's a good timing thing for me, because I was looking for something else to do, and I felt this is going to keep me involved in the industry And also, if I happened to get auditions, and I did, I booked a couple of things when I was pregnant, but it was quieter. It was a quieter year. And I'm glad that I was able to still be on set and meet people and meet directors and be in rooms and hold casting sessions. And, you know, so...
Be active in that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's integral. And my world got so much bigger. And I found myself learning things that were helping me then as an actor. And so it absolutely didn't detract in any way.
I can say personally that producing for me has filled out my career. Like, I don't look at it as a singular thing. It feels like it's an addition to, and it's a challenge that I really like. I like that it's something proactive that I can go after, and also it's like really hard, and I'm learning so much. And so for me, then when I got to go back to the work of acting, it just felt like, oh, thank God, like I can just like relax into this.
That's
and
so interesting.
I was like, oh, I get to go to set, and like I don't have to worry about if there's a porta potty for people to go to. You know, it's like amazing freedom and an appreciation for the acting that I didn't have before with that context.
And that's such a great lesson in balance for actors who oftentimes have this myopic focus on the dream and it happening one way, and when you open it up to other possibilities, all of a sudden space emerges.
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, I've had the most success in my acting career since I've started producing, and I don't think that that's a coincidence.
And do you want to talk about Kate in particular, about like she was here being involved in something and then had to do something? You know, you were here when you before you booked something. Which is an important story.
I thought that was an important moment. So we were shooting some stuff with one of my classes in rehearsal. We shot 12 films here a few months ago, and you jumped in heroically at the last minute for an actor who got a commercial and acted in that piece. I remember you saying, "Oh shoot, I have an audition that morning," and you wonderfully said, "You know what? I'm going to figure out a way to do this, either change the audition or do a self-tape, because I've committed to this project," which we appreciated. And then you did this amazing work in the course of 2 hours, and then you went into another. You can tell that story of what happened after that.
Yeah. So I had gotten the audition at 8 p.m. the day before, and so there was no way to know if I could reschedule or not or whatever. So I was just basically like, I know what I need to do to keep my word and my relationships with these people, and that's my priority. And great if I can self-tape or if I can go in later, but I know, like, longevity wise what's important to me, and that's keeping my commitments. And so I got real nice and warm by doing that scene for 2 hours, and then the director of that scene then helped throw me on tape in the other room, and they accepted my self-tape, and then I got the call back for that and booked a recurring role on the show. So,
which to me again speaks to, like, when you disrupt this obsessive focus on this one thing, all of a sudden things get interesting and things loosen up. And I want to also talk about this in the context of being a parent as well, because so I'm kind of shaking my head here in disbelief at, like, so you get pregnant, 2017, you get pregnant, it's a slower year, and you start producing multiple films, and you're raising a child. Like, that is ridiculous to me, and yet you're making it work. Yeah, that's incredible.
I produced I think 8 short films the year I was pregnant.
How does that work?
How does it work?
I'm always asking that because
I had a few going at once. You know, there was
children or movies. I'm sorry.
Luckily, just one child. But there was, like, definitely, I think the April, May, June. I think I had back-to-back films like every couple of weeks. It was a crazy time. But it was great, and I just managed to do it, and I was learning so much. So then by the time I gave birth in November, I had 2 films that were in pre-production, one of which was Kate's, one of which was the first project that I worked on with Kate. And so, yeah, you just do. Like, you just get on with it. I think, like, it was hard because the work is hard, but I was really enjoying it, and I found, wow, this is a great outlet, and I was thriving in a way that I hadn't before.
Do you mean that one serves the other in terms of parenting, acting, producing?
Yeah, I feel like certainly now, being an actor and a parent and a producer, I found that my time is very precious, and so it forces me to make forces me to make choices that will determine how much time I'm taking away from my child. If I'm going to do this project, if I'm going to commit, I have to really care. I have to work out. Everything becomes a lot more efficient, and the time management aspect of it all. And so I think that's part of the juggling of everything, as far as the parenting goes. But parenting is a production in itself, like it really is. Like each day is different, and you don't know what's coming, and you
know what you have to get done,
and you have to get done. Yeah. And so but I as an actor now, it's the same thing with going into auditions, and you care. You need to care because you want to book the job and you want to make your health insurance and all that, and it's important. But then also it's just not as important as that wonderful being that's at home. Sure. Like that, it just, the perspective just hits you the minute you become a parent. And so before, acting was all I cared about. Then I started caring about producing too. And you care in a different way when you're producing because, well, I say I can only speak for us, I suppose, but we care deeply. So if we sign on to a project and we decide that we're going to do this and we're putting our names on it, we really give our all. We go above and beyond. That would be,
so what's the criteria then that leads to you saying yes to something as opposed to no?
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot more. We've learned so much. Like the learning curve has been really steep, and that's you can only do that by making the wrong choices sometimes. And so I think part of that, and like part of being a parent and choosing what we do with our time, is we're much more selective just even from reading a script, like what we decide to put. And it's not necessarily that it's the perfect script, but it has to have the thing or something special because
what's the special thing?
I mean, so
you have somewhat of a mandate for your company.
Yeah, so we specifically serve underserved voices. We give them a platform. That's kind of and also female-driven content generally, although we love men and have worked with men in the past. But
we've worked with a lot of male filmmakers too. But it really, it's a story that we feel needs to be heard, and that a lot of times has a social aspect to it that we want to get out there. We think people should see, and we care about, and we get excited about. We'll read a script and we'll say, we have to make this.
I don't think we've ever read a script and one of us gone, this is it, and the other one gone, I don't see it. No. We know,
and that's not to say we've read really good scripts, but maybe it's a rom-com or it's or
spy thriller or just something that doesn't hit with our personal message that we've kind of,
and that came very organically. The films. So I had done about 8 by the time Kate came to me. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that happened?
And also, how did you come to this? What was your moment of
So a filmmaker that I was in class with, an actor, she was just like, would you produce this? She had no idea that I've never produced anything before, so I was just like, let's be clear, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm happy to learn. And I think it probably comes from just aspects of my personality being, not necessarily super type A. Nat and I definitely have different skills and talents that we bring to the table, but I think seeing maybe an aspect of leadership or something, and trusting me to take on that her short film. And so I was doing that on my own, and I was like, okay, who do I ask? What do I do? How do I approach this? I don't even know the first thing to do. And I asked around, and everyone's like, talk to Nat, talk to Natalie, talk to Nat. And so I was like, okay, can I get a coffee with you? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I know that she gets those calls every day. And I kept asking her questions, and then I was like, wait a second, I'm a producer. I can just hire her. And I was actually I said, I'll just give her my fee, because how much I was learning from her was so important to me. And at this level, it's not really about the money. We're building something bigger. It's definitely not about the money if we break it down by hours. But that something clicked in our working relationship where even when we were figuring out how things were going to go, it just felt like, we there was a level of trust there that I think is just like super special.
Trust and respect, because I think you ultimately really have to respect the person you're working with and value their opinion, because so many times you're having important conversations and one of you might change each other's mind and one of you might say something and sometimes you're going, okay, I don't necessarily feel that strongly, but you really do, and I trust you. Let's go. Let's do this. So a lot of
like the respect to as simple as like answer an email without you okaying it, you know? But that's what makes it doable. I would never do this on my own, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
it's more fun to have a partner.
Right? And just a sounding board too. Yeah.
It is, but it has to be the right partner. And I think we were very lucky with that we did this one film, Egg Day, together. And at that point the thought of doing a company wasn't even there. But then we did another one, and then I think I had another one, and then suddenly all these little films were like little children, I guess. They were out there and they were doing their own little thing on the film festival circuit and winning awards and doing this, and we kept getting more projects. And I thought, if we're going to keep doing this, why don't we do this properly? Build an umbrella that we can house all these little nuggets underneath and start building something. And so that was the idea came to me of building a company and doing it and having our brand. It was really essentially building a brand. So it wasn't just produced by Natalie, produced by Kate. It was at Queen's Gambit Films production. And so I proposed it to you, and there wasn't
texted me. I was like, sure. And it's been I mean, bigger than I could have imagined.
And so now
that's cool. Just take a moment though to realize, to accept what you guys have done in such a short period of time. Really not easy, and yet it happens so organically.
Right. Yeah. So we have 8, I think, Queen's Gambit Films productions out there now, officially, right. Which is very exciting. And we're in pre-production on 3 more. And I will say that still, all the work that we're getting is coming to us. We haven't gone looking. We haven't posted. We haven't asked, because we never have had to yet. And that's not a case that we might not in the future, but we've been kept consistently busy. And what I'll say with that is that I think sometimes when things are meant for you, they come to you a little easier. And I think when I was sort of saying, oh, look, the acting, it's slowing down a little, and here we come with the producing, and then another producing job and another. And I think when you have to listen to that stuff sometimes, not the universe. I mean, I'm not huge into all that stuff, but it is.
You just said the universe.
I did say the universe.
Let's play the tape back.
But it is. There's some. I believe in energy, and I believe that some things come to you, and sometimes when you're fighting so hard for something, maybe you need to think. Take a step back, maybe stop fighting, because if it's meant for you, it does come. And with the producing, it's been brilliant. And we've had a couple of jobs now where it's come to us just from our brand, and it hasn't been people we know, and it hasn't been people who've referred us, which is lovely, because then you feel it's different. It's different. It feels
bigger.
It does. Yeah.
What's interesting about what you're just saying here is and I don't mean this with any disrespect to actors, but I think there is, because actors have sacrificed so much to achieve this thing, and it's so hard and elusive and blah blah blah, that there is this identity that gets attached to the ego about, I am an actor, so no, I don't want to be a producer. That's not why I moved out here. So F you, go away, back up with your I'm a content creator.
Right.
Why don't you shoot something? No, fuck you, I'm an actor, right? Full stop. And so then that producer is a little whisper. It's not
I'm terrified. I wouldn't know where to begin.
Sure.
How can I do that? Let me shrink back down.
And if you think of 8 films or whatever it is, but as you're describing it here, even in the last few minutes, it's it started with a tiny little thing, then the next one, and all of a sudden,
and just saying yes,
Right. But and through 8 films, I've not once missed an audition,
not once.
Or so
isn't that it? I just don't buy this. I
so
can't.
Let's look at actually what the time,
That's
the time in your day is spent doing.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's something to be said for the fact that a lot of actors get told, if you're a serious actor, then you should only focus on being an actor. If you need to commit 100%, you don't need to get distracted. If you're focused, then you're taking your energy away from acting. And it's something about, because I've heard it many times from different people, and I think it's wrong, to be perfectly honest, because maybe that might have been the case, but the landscape has changed, the industry is changing. People are making their own content, and they're getting picked up, and they're being developed into shows, and it is happening off a short film, off a web series. It's happening all the time. And so times have changed. And so I think that actors need to, I would say that actors have jobs all the time. Sometimes it's waiting tables, sometimes it's whatever. And we would always say, like, I would always say, if you're going to be doing something, like, try and do a job that doesn't make you feel like shit. Like, try and do something that
that's pretty low.
No, but there are some jobs, and it's miserable, and you're miserable, and you take that energy into the audition room with you. And so a lot of times it's that struggle of trying to find a job that will be flexible enough as an actor, but that can earn you some money and doesn't make you want to kill yourself, right? Yeah. And I, as a producer, we not only are earning a little bit of money off this, but it's also connected to the industry, and we're making contacts, and it's not just. There are so many other things you can do. You can be a writer, you can be a director, you can be a producer, you can be an AD, you can be a production designer if you're creative and you're into. There's so many different roles that aren't an actor that you could do in addition that will just widen your world and also give you those connections that can help you as an actor.
We'll talk about that a little more, because I think it's fascinating to even say to an actor, okay, you don't want to be a producer, that's a big job. You need to have a certain sense of organization. You need to want to do that. And so maybe you don't feel like you're a writer yet, or maybe you're doing that but what about jumping onto somebody's short film and learning how to crew? Or maybe you're an art director or a production manager or a set photographer.
Absolutely.
Or something else, or a cinematographer, what would that be like? Is that a good idea?
I mean, it can't hurt, I don't think. I've never personally, you've AD'd on a handful of things. But yeah, I would say I've gone through an evolution a little bit with the side work stuff. I was nannying and babysitting for a good amount of time, and then I realized that wasn't, I was dreading it so much that, and it wasn't keeping me engaged, as a creative. And so it was really scary, but I just set a line, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try not doing it for a while and just saying no, and I'm gonna fill it in with I do some graphic design, some painting and producing and writing, and just see if it holds me up. And so far it has. But finding those things like the painting, which isn't necessary, which then led me to graphic design, which then I was designing posters for short films, so it all kind of came back around, and it was a way of staying in this positive mindset. But I had to make that decision to cut off.
It's giving yourself permission. As an actor, which we're always looking for permission from other people, I think, and looking for the yes. And I think sometimes we need to give the yes to ourselves, and we need to sort of say, because you can always go back, right? But you might. What's the harm in trying? Yeah. Try it and see what happens. And then you don't know what else is going to open up for you. I had never even thought about directing ever. And yet I found myself as a producer on set, I'd be standing by the monitor a lot, and we'd be giving notes, and we'd have our producer's notes, and the director or the writer would say, have you got any thoughts or whatever? And I found, I have quite a lot of thoughts. And then I found again and again that...
Yeah. So I was watching her do that, and then I was like, I'm watching Nat say something, and then the director saying the exact same thing. So I saw that enough times that when I wrote something, I was like, Nat, you're ready to direct this, and I just handed it to her. But that came from being on so many sets. Right. And
I was like, are you sure?
But, it was without a doubt in my mind. She was ready for
what you do is when you're on set and that happens, you learn what you know, and you start to trust that you have a point of view.
Absolutely.
So you're learning it on the job. But that's also, to me, the best thing a producer can be, a creative producer, as well as an efficient line producer, is to also, because as a director you get lost and you need to turn to somebody and say, what do you think? Am I missing something? If you really have that trust relationship. So how great to be able to be there to do that. And that's exercising creative muscles too.
Absolutely.
And that serves your acting and all of it,
yes.
right?
Sitting at a monitor, we're always there. Like one of us is always at the monitor, and that's like another way. Same thing as like being in a casting room can serve you as an actor. It's just another way of being from the other side and putting things into context, which I think is
it's
so
the control
huge.
the control that you don't have as an actor you have in those other roles. And so many things can come your way that you never would have thought of, and now I'm going to be directing even more, and like a year ago nothing, and it hadn't even crossed my mind. So there's so many, and Kate's writing more and more, because now of course we have the company and we have wonderful connections. We've made one film completely by ourselves, because a lot of times we get hired by other people and they're the client or the writer or the director, but we made one ourselves, and we're going to be going forward and doing more. And
May as well.
Yeah.
We have the foundation, we have the structure, so it's the crew that we hire over and over again that we trust, and they're willing to do a favor for us. And so having that be an added benefit of like, oh, I can now write something and go, Nat, you down for this? We encourage people to pay their actors, because we know what it's like, a low fee, but like we just the same for crew, where it's like we know the rate that they deserve because they're professionals, and we want to be able to provide that to them. And it's not a crazy, we're not like paying their rent for the month, but like it's something that we can do, and I think we want to hold ourselves to that standard.
And that's how you build relationships as a business, and people
Yeah.
feel valued, and they'll go to the wall for you.
Yeah, and they'll grow with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's certain, I think people know that about us, and even friends of ours who'd be making things and go, okay, you know what, I know you guys, and I know you're going to want this, and like, I can't do it for this. So, and we say no hard feelings, that's fine. But it also helps us make better decisions, because we do have hard lines about certain things. And it makes it a lot easier for us to know then that we're going into production on something that ticks all of our boxes, and we know that it's going to turn out to be quality.
As you envision this thing in 5 years, what does it look like? And also, what's the balance between, why does that make you laugh? Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, that's why I laugh, because people ask all the time, like, what's the end game? Feature films? Oh, you guys, you've done so many shorts. You should go into features. You should go in.
We just hear it a lot.
Everybody
Why
is
is
always
that, do you
like
think?
pushing us to do.
Right, because it's like, oh, it can't be. What's the next thing? What's it going to? What's the bigger? And I think we've been served so well by just putting one step in front of the other, and now it so happens that larger projects have come to us. And I think it's about who we are, though, as people, and we're really hardworking, and like it's not like we're gonna go, we're sloughing off, like, and then the momentum kind of falls down. It's like we don't have to worry about that happening.
Is there something magical for you all about shorter form content, or do you like it, or are you open to anything?
I love working with first-time filmmakers, because I love guiding them through that process. There's something really lovely about watching someone grow as a filmmaker, and if you can sort of handhold a little where it's necessary, because some people need a lot of handholding. They're like, I've written this script, I don't know what to do everything. Other people will come to you and say, I've written this script, I have this director already, I know where I want to shoot, and I've got my 2 leads. Or I have a DP who has the amazing camera that we need. Oh, brilliant. So then we're not doing as much. But when you can see something born from like an idea and take it all the way to the end, and then see it get into amazing film festivals and attend the film festivals, like it's a wonderful feeling of accomplishment and fulfillment. And on a short film, it's usually a 1 to 3 day shoot. It's contained. It might take
1 to 2 month process.
And as a parent, I find that more manageable. I could take on 5 or 6 shorts in a year and still have a kid and organize the meetings. If I'm taking on 2 or 3 features that are a 3-week to 4-week shoot, depending, and it's just a lot longer. And that's not to say that we're not interested in it. We're in pre-production on a feature right now. It just feels like the shorts that we make, we're making a difference, I feel. And so I don't, a lot of people are like, why do you want to make more shorts? You don't need to make more shorts. You've done 17 now, like move on. And I just say, I feel like I will always do them as long as
they're making,
I'm inspired by the scripts. And I am a very goal-orientated person in my life. I very much I want to work towards this. But for some reason with Queen's Gambit Films, it's growing at the pace that is just right for us. And I have a feeling that we will, in 5 years, we will have features, more features.
Where you're supposed to
where
be.
It will be where we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
but also we have so many other elements in our life. Between the two of us, we do it all, and it's manageable because we're both very different people, and yet our work ethic is extremely similar.
What would you say to somebody, an actor listening to this perhaps, who doesn't know that they want to be a producer, but they value making a short film, because as you said, short films can, and say a little more about what a short film can do for an actor, what you've seen happen with, and I'd love to talk about a couple people we know, like Gracie, Mercedes, and Dom, and Chelsea, who are all BGBers, who have started writing here, and then you've now taken them to these amazing places, and what that experience was. But what do you say to somebody who doesn't know what to do next, and why?
Besides take our class.
Yes. We'll get to that in a moment. But also, what if they're a budding writer, filmmaker, director? Why a short film, and what do they do next aside from come to you? I mean, obviously that's clear. I mean, I would come to you with any project, but what do they do for themselves? To take the next step out of dreamland and hope and fear.
Yeah. Well, I think why a short film? I think it's just the most natural first step into filmmaking. It's much more doable. It's just everything's on a smaller scale. Yeah. You'll learn so much on your first short film that but you can only learn a lot of that stuff by the doing. And most people, pretty much Mark Duplass talks about his kind of evolution, and it was a short film, then another short film, and it's a way, and then a feature, but super low budget feature. But it's the ways to keep the most amount of control of your product. So
and knowing why you want to make the short. So if you're an actor, is it because you're sick of being called in for the same roles over and over again, and you want people to see you in a different light, and you're not getting cast in that light? Is it, for your reel? Is it because you want to direct, and if you write something, or if you have a short film given to you, is it for your directing? Is it for you as a writer? Do you want to make something that then you can send people as a sample to get you into a writer's room? Is because sometimes
proof of concept for a pilot could be a short film,
right?
Or
so knowing why you want to make the short is really important, but it's also, I think it's so empowering to take control as an actor. We to control the controllables. There aren't many of them, and I think that making your own content is something that you can control, and you can go at your own pace. If you're doing it, you start writing, then maybe you reach out to that friend who you trust, and we have those people where those people who we send our stuff to, that we feel you're going to be honest, you're smarter than us, we really respect you, give us our notes. They're always those people. Don't send it to your friends or your mom or whatever. Who are those people who are going to tell you what you need to hear, the good and the bad, and you can work at your own pace. And
I would say watch a bunch of short films, because we talk about kind of the difference between a scene and a short film, and there is a difference, and the difference being that a short film is a story that only needs the amount of time that it's given, rather than a slice of life kind of thing.
Or something that had a scene before and will have a scene after that you want to see in the bigger picture.
Right. But a short is best served in that short amount of time. Obviously, proof of concept things can be different, but by watching them, you'll see when it's that was that felt like it was finished, and that was all that was all I needed, and it made a point, and I know why it was made, and it was about something.
Will you just define for people who don't know what proof of concept means?
Oh yeah, so proof of concept, which may or may not be useful. I've heard a lot of different opinions on that, but it's basically just shooting a bit of a scene or a couple scenes or like a montage from something that's bigger, so that if you're pitching it or you're going out to production companies, you can literally
give them
have them
it's like
watch
a visual reference,
so
a visual
it's the
taste.
most hand-holding that you can do in terms of like, here is the real world.
It's like a created outline or a created short brief with the idea of making something out of that.
Exactly. And a short can be that, because sometimes people will say, I have an idea for a feature and it is amazing. And you can make a short version of that that can exist on its own. But what we would always say to people is, let it, in that short version, be complete in itself, so that it can go and it can do a film festival run, and people aren't going, oh, I just saw the first scene of something, because that is just a proof of concept. So you want to be able to go, and then maybe halfway through you decide, oh, I don't want to make this feature, I want to sing, and then at least you've got a complete project. You've got it, because it's a lot of work to put into. So short films can be a taste of something bigger, and can be a feature or can be expanded. Like Short Term 12, right? That was like a short and then became a feature, but it existed as a short itself. So there's...
Yeah, and then in terms of other like steps in building towards that, get on as many short sets as you can. I think offer to PA for free. People will always take an extra set of hands, and then just watch, because there was a lot of learning from me about like what a gaffer is and and why that's important, and also I think one of the things we pride ourselves on is like that we have sets that are just kind of harmonious and positive. And
how do you achieve that?
Hiring the right people, getting people into rooms together before plopping down on set.
We'll insist on a pre-production meeting where all the heads will come together, and
so a lot of that stuff gets worked out in that room rather than eating into your time on the day, and it just...
And also, honestly, like, we make sure everything is done. We're not doing anything on the day. We're not doing paperwork on the day. Everything is done, so that when we turn up for ourselves as well, we get to sit down, we have our coffee, and we sit by the monitor, and we're not running around like putting out fires and, oh my God, this, and oh my, So therefore, we're calm, because people look, they're like, oh, they're the producers. Oh, look, they're happy. And we genuinely are, because you can't fake that. You can't hide it. And so I think that when we have everything together, then everybody else is like, okay, cool, everything's organized and it's a smooth ship.
Does this mean that you've stayed up till 4 a.m. the night before, but you show up?
Maybe not the night before, but I've stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, and maybe we've answered calls at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we, that's sort of how we are. But but
we are trying to get back. This is though a thing that we realizing that as much as we want to do everything for these filmmakers, we can best serve them by setting boundaries for our own time. And
because if you offer, people will say yes.
They will take, especially.
Yes, we've learned that ourselves.
Yeah, of course. But it's not serving them either to be limitlessly available to them.
And if you empower people to take responsibility for themselves, then they'll step up as best they can, and sometimes that's a lot.
Yeah. So that's been part of the learning process.
Short of the Week is a wonderful website that showcases wonderful shorts.
Oh, good.
And it's a great way to spend an hour or an afternoon or a half an hour. They're usually like 10, anywhere from like 5 minutes to 14 minutes or whatever, and they really pick quality shorts up there. So if you can't get out to a local film festival, that's a good way of watching great shorts and getting a sense of what good shorts look like and feel like.
I know that a couple people have, and I even know that when you came and did a class here, people said this to you. Look, how do you raise money? You mentioned crowdfunding. Say a little bit about that, and also like, I don't know how to raise $5,000, $10,000 to make a short. What do I do?
Right.
Do I have to?
Right. So basically what we were saying earlier is, if you're going to do the super cheap version, there is a benefit to doing that, which is learning. And the market of short films is so saturated now because it's more widely available gear, and it's easier for people to do, and it's become such a tool for actors and filmmakers.
New film festivals, wonderful film festivals are popping up. They're extending. They're having more programs because there's such great content out there.
But that means that that not only does it have to have the thing and the great message, it needs to look good, it needs to sound good, it needs to, and these are things that cost money. It
has to be exceptional, because programmers at the festivals, they're getting all these submissions and they only have so many slots, and they're watching it and they press play, and it's like on an audition tape, right? Like, you're sending in a self-tape as an actor, and they say, sometimes, most people, they'll watch the first 10 seconds. Like, you've got to hook them in. It's got to, and honestly, I feel like, and I've spoken to a lot of programmers about this, like they're looking for a reason to exit. They're looking for something. And if they can't find it, if the story is great and it looks beautiful and it sounds beautiful, they're going to want to program it. They're going to have to program it, because they're going to know, this is going to be at that film festival and we want it first and we want this. Like, there's a whole competition that goes on that side that's fascinating. And so you want to be in a position where you're offering them gold, and like you just, they're saying yes from the off.
So that's worth then raising some money to do that. If you're ready for that.
You make a budget first, and you figure out what actually to spend your money on, and then based on that, then you go into your Kickstarter or your Seed and Spark, or what's the third one?
Indiegogo.
So those are websites,
there's lots,
platforms where you can raise money.
Right. Yeah. And so what we say generally, like, if people have never crowdfunded before and they're doing it for the first time, we're like, great. You have so many untapped people, like
people who are ready to give you money but haven't yet, and may not again.
Right. So,
but also don't make them regret it.
And I think, obviously, there are a lot of specifics about raising money, but I think one of the most important things is to offer people the chance to be a part of something exciting, rather than come to them on your hands and knees begging and groveling for help. Because I think that it feels different to give money to someone who has a great idea, done the preparation, and is going to go forward and do something exciting, and then you can say, I helped them do that.
And people want to do that for you.
People really want to do that. Your family,
they want to be a part of something.
Yeah, they really, and they want a chance to support you. It's not, I think it's just changing the mindset about, we're in an industry where we have to do it. Like, you just have to do it. Unless you have a rich Uncle Bob, great. That's great. Ask him. Don't, if you have that, I think go ahead and do that. But it's the arts, and we need to find a way.
People are always surprised. They think they're not going to get the money, and then they do. And $10,000 sounds like an insane amount of money, and actually it's very attainable. If it's $20 here, $20 there, and these crowdfunding websites, they know what they're doing too, and so a lot of the times, even if you have no idea how to start, you could. It's a good thing to actually go on these sites and just check them out anyway, because they do provide guidelines and a template, and they're like, write this here, put this photo here, record a video. What we would suggest is maybe something this, maybe something that, and so they guide you through it in a way, and then before you know it, like, you've got this really impressive website.
And it's empowering. My daughter did that. Thank you, Kate, for helping her with that. But she did that on Seed and Spark, and the interesting thing that happened in going through that process, in putting that campaign together, when it was done, she said, I think I can make a movie now.
Yeah. It's really a form of pre-production. You have to understand because you're writing summaries, you're
introducing your team.
If you're doing it the proper way, while it's possible, it is a lot of work, and I think that's it, and it requires preparation. And
we have seen people who've got to that point and have realized for themselves, I'm not ready. And that can be, I think that's a really useful thing, because then they know what they need to do and to come back to it.
Right. Wow.
Seed and Spark specifically has a really good video series that's really specific about.
Will you just say a couple things about a couple of the experiences you had, let's say with Gracie and Dom? I know Dom was one of your first producing things, right? So Dominic Burgess, who's just watching him go from this guy who couldn't get his green card and was like writing sketches to like where he is now in a few short years. It's been amazing, and you were a big part of that. So
I wasn't a big part of it. I was lucky enough.
Well, he would say you are. He's not here, so I'll say it for him.
No, Dom's delightful. I myself and Dom actually went to the same drama school in London.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we weren't he left the year I joined, but that was sort of how I got to know him, and then he was one of the people who came to me and said, hey, will you AD on this short? I've heard that you do that. And I said, sure. And then we had a couple of meetings and he asked me to produce with him on Sam Did It, which you can see on samdiditshort.com.
Or on the Queen's Gambit.
Or on queensgambitpresents.com, which is our
We'll edit
channel.
That first one out and just get you right to the...
We'll have all these links on our channel.
Anyway, he wanted to make a short film. He said the inspiration came from that time where all the celebrity deaths were happening. People were posting about all that stuff, and so that was where the idea from Sam Did It came from. But he really wanted to make something specific for himself as a director. So that was where his goal was, because he wanted to get into directing. And it's really served him very, very well. It had an excellent run on the film festival circuit, and then
I just want to say, it is a really good film.
Yeah. Oh, it's a brilliant film.
Well done.
Brilliant,
and it looks amazing, and it sounds
amazing.
All
the things. Really, but he used it then as a way to sort of put himself forward for director jobs and director mentorships and all that sort of stuff. So he was able to just send the link and he was able to submit it and say, here's a sample of me as a director. And people, and so he got himself shadowing. I don't want to be wrong on this, but I think he shadowed on 911 and
the mentorship
Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy's mentorship program. Right?
He's going from strength to strength. He's doing more and more directing, and now we're working on a feature film with them that he will ultimately direct. Right. And so that's his story, and that came out of making a short film, and it's serving him, and it will continue to serve him, and he'll always have that link, and he'll always use it. And when people want to say, oh, well, can you direct? He can just say, yeah, here you go. You know, here's proof.
And he can direct a celebrity because Fred Molina's in it, and so that's something that brings integrity, and it just came from a growth of conviction to what he wanted and believed.
Exactly. And he would say, he sent the script to him and was crossing his fingers, and he gave himself permission to do that, to say, what's the worst that can happen? He says no. Okay, cool. Like, I have a load of other people I can ask, but why not just ask? Why not do it? Yeah. And when something is good and you believe in yourself, and the script was very good, of course, he said yes, he's available. And of course then us on the production side having to work around his schedule and all that stuff, but we did logistically, and it was wonderful. And then do you want to talk about Gracie?
So Gracie's short,
Gracie Mercedes,
Egg
Egg Day.
Was the first one that Nat and I worked on together. And that was my first producing ever. And she co-wrote that with her husband. And that also did really well, got into festivals. And I think then it was one of the first things that she had written. And now she is staffing on an NBC show.
Perfect Harmony, right?
Yeah.
And
she was just an actor with me in class, and it was just another
but that speaks to that just as important, though, because it's someone that you knew, and there was nothing specific about it other than you decided to do it together.
Exactly. We kind of gave each other permission in a way, I think. And we a handful, and Chelsea as well. Chelsea Gonzalez is at the studio, and we just produced her second short film.
Chelsea's short was the first one I produced, and we did that together, and I mean, she's a wonderful example of just taking control of everything. And she was very nervous and didn't have a lot of confidence that she could do it, and she did. And not only that, but it went on to have, I think that film like got into nearly 30 plus film festivals and won awards and did amazing things that she never even thought possible. And so said, I want to do this again, and wrote another short and came to us and said, will you do that? Will you produce it? And we did. And that's what's beautiful.
So she didn't direct the first one that she did.
Melena
she
did.
acted in it. And Melena directed it. And so for the second one, Chelsea directed it.
So she didn't act in it, she directed it, and she's working on other stuff now. And then now she's, I mean, not to speak for her, but she's even thinking, maybe like I want a DP, or maybe I want to get into camera. And she's thinking, okay, like maybe I'll do that. And it's just giving her that confidence that she didn't have. Now she has the confidence to go forward and give things a go, because she's seen what's happened when she did, you know, so far.
And that's an example of somebody who is a lovely actor, but she was here in class and started writing in class and realized she had an amazing voice. And I think that's something to say to actors listening, is that you don't know what you're capable of until you start to try it on, you know. And what's the worst that could happen, especially in a safe environment like in class or among friends? You know, you don't have to leap to the like, I'm going to raise 10 grand just tomorrow. But what would it be like to try that on and to take your creative spirit and your voice and exercise it and try to, what would it be like to write this or write that? And we've seen that happen.
Well, what I do want to acknowledge is that the initial time when it sucks, because you know that your tastes are up here. I'm raising my hand high in the air, and what you're capable of doing at the beginning doesn't reach your high standard of content or quality of writing or directing or whatever. And that's just going to be the case because it's your first time. And I think there's something to be said for giving yourself permission to be bad. And that's really hard. That's really hard for me personally. It's uncomfortable. I don't like.
You don't want to suck.
No, you don't want to. It's terrible.
You know what sucking looks like, and you know.
Oh my God, it's the worst. Yeah. But like giving yourself that permission in order to then incrementally, slowly inch up towards that.
But the only way you're going to get to that place where your standard and your level of taste and what you know you want to do is that high. The only way to get there is to take the steps to get there.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the suckiness though, because like let's not just say it's easy, because it's not, and it feels uncomfortable, and it's scary and vulnerable, and I think like acknowledging that is important.
But you're the one in control, and you're the one able to make the decisions, and we always say that to the filmmakers, especially the ones who come to us and say help. Oh, you know better. We always say ultimately every single decision is going to be yours and needs to be yours, and we'll give you as much advice as you want. But what's beautiful about this is the control that you have, and you might not be auditioning a lot, or maybe you're auditioning and you're not booking, but if you write something, you're guaranteeing yourself that you're going to be on a set. Be it as an actor, or maybe if it's a writer or whatever, but you're guaranteeing that you're going to make something, and you're going to get that thing that you're wanting from somewhere else, but that you're not in control of.
And, you know, I've worked with a lot of producers, and I just want to say to anybody listening, this is not rinky-dink time. You know, you guys are legit. You remind me of all the great producers that I know and I've worked with for 40 years. I get emotional about this. I don't know why, you know? It's so weird. Because people listen to this and they think, I can't do that, I can't go there. You know, this is not for me. I'll never do that. I'm this little actor somewhere, and I don't really know who I am, or will anybody ever see me, cast me, hear me? But what you've done, and what it speaks to, is stepping up and saying, I'm capable of this. I deserve to do this. I deserve to hold space for other people to do this. Other people deserve this, and together we create something, and we're professionals, and we are working in this town and in this industry at that level that we all want to achieve and that we know we're capable of. And we're not on the outside doing it. We are stepping inside and taking control of this. And you are just like any producer I've worked on any huge feature film or any successful TV series. It's the same thing. But the only way to experience that is not to wait and dream of it and like watch the Academy Awards or the Emmys and say, I wish someday that would happen to me. The way to do that is to just do that, and to find like-minded people like you did, right? A partnership and a community of people to collaborate with and to find that symbiosis so that you can create together, and then magic shit happens. And it's not really magic, it's hard work. But it's both. It's both,
And what you're talking about a lot is leadership, and the two of you come together, community. You've talked about empowerment here, and you've talked about helping women and people who have historically been excluded from the industry. Describe your experience as women filmmakers, and not only that, but what sort of responsibility you feel to empower women in all this. It seems to me you said 2017, we're right in the heart of the Me Too movement, time's up, when you started all this. What's your experience there?
Yeah, I think we'll both say that as actors, you're standing on set and you're looking around at the crew and you're seeing an awful lot of men. And like we always say, we love men, but why is the crew 95% men and then the only women on crew are hair and makeup, wardrobe, and maybe the script supervisor if you're lucky? When there are so many talented women out there, so many women out there training and are in film school and are able to do all of these jobs. And so I very much thought, when we do this film, we're two women, we're attracted to female content or underserved voices. And I say that in the sense that a lot of our projects are, they deal with LGBTQ stuff, race stuff, sexism, also all sorts of issues, but things that we do think need a platform. But we thought, well, here's another way for us to be different, but also to able to help in a way. And so we said to ourselves, we're going to make sure that our sets are crewed with, we said at least 50% because we wanted half, but actually they're usually about 80%. So we say at least 70% women. And we will push that so that we bring on board female directors, female DPs, and of course, men, of course, from time to time as well, because there are some wonderfully talented men out there, and we want to we ultimately just want real talent on our sets. So what we do is guarantee that, and we employ a lot of women. And
there are some, I think, making a point of that, we do have to work harder to seek out. If we were to just go with the first choices that were presented to us, we would probably end up with a smaller contingent of women. But
filmmakers, when we ask, do you have anyone in mind, they'll usually say, oh, this guy, and oh, Dave and John, and oh, there was this amazing DP I worked with and I was thinking of asking him. Always him. And the issue, I think, really is that because it's a male industry, and it's predominantly a male industry, and there's just men who know men who know men who repeatedly hire men, it's hard because when you're trying to say to someone, hey, look, I'm presenting you with this person, and they say, yeah, but like she's only got 7 credits and he's got 35. And so like and I say, yeah, but why does this person have 35 credits? Because of this keeps happening, and they keep employing the men and adding to their credits. Whereas the women, you have to build them up. And so us as women, we hire women as much as we can, but until men, and there are some men out there doing it, but it comes to the men to ask to start employing women as much as we do. And when we work with male filmmakers, we'll say, hey, you now have an opportunity as the director or the writer to do this, and you're a man doing this, and this is why it's important. And so again, tiny little steps, because what we're doing is not being done around town a lot, but there are a lot of female women and female filmmakers out there who are trying as well. And I think over time we'll get there, but it's...
Yeah, but sometimes all people, they just need the question posed, or like, oh, and the spotlight shown on it. And it's not like people are trying to be sexist, right? I think it's
they just go to what they know.
They go to
right,
what
exactly.
They don't even think.
Just asking the questions gives them the permission to spend a little more time.
What about a woman?
Be a little more thoughtful.
What about a woman?
Right.
And there are people who would say a bunch of women on set, boy, that's going to get emotional.
Not at all.
Oh my God.
Who the fuck's saying that?
People say that. I've heard it.
You've heard that?
Females?
We have had, oh my God, we have had the smoothest running sets.
Women get
the lack
shit
of ego.
done. And the lack of ego is
amazing.
Incredible. I mean, that's it. Really,
that's
it is
really
because
what it boils down to.
Unfortunately, Steve, in general, men the ego gets in the way of everything, and so with our sets, we've had very professional TV directors and DPs who have worked on our sets and who've said that it has been the best set that they have ever been on, and they've been on $1 million sets, and they say that
which is part of the problem, because that money comes with the ego, with male power centers that are hanging on desperately to their power structures. And so,
but women, and also women get very excited sometimes when they turn up to set and they see other women. Oh wow, look at all this! Oh my gosh, there's so many women, and it makes them. I don't know. It's an energy that's just so positive, and it makes people feel good, and it makes people feel that change is happening. And I think that that's really important. So we're doing our part on a small scale basis for the shorts, but we're doing what we can right now, and as we go forward we're always going to be doing that, because that's what we know and what's important to us.
You care about it, which is so great. Can you just talk a little bit about this class that came out of this one visit you had to one of our classes? Tell us about Producers Lab making your short.
So
here at BGB,
we are teaching a 4-week class, and we thought the best way to serve people would be a practical application of the skills, because there is a lot of nuts and bolts to learn about budget and SAG paperwork and production insurance, and so to have an application of that onto an existing project, so a short script, 10 pages, up to 15 maybe, and
13 months,
and then or a proof of concept or something. But what really I think, in order to most closely replicate the process of doing your own first short film, is applying these skills to an actual script and going, okay, let's break down this script and do the budget for it, and what would be the specific challenges in terms of location or cast or whatever. And so basically over the 4 weeks, we will give the people in the class the skills and the tools to, if they wanted to step into production the day after the last class. So just knowing the really practical, I think the hardest, knowing from experience being a producer and going, what do I do?
What's the first step? And then once I do the first step, what comes next? And it really is going to be like a step by step know-how, because so many people are being told, make your own content, and that sounds great, but then how the hell do I do that? And so it's what we would like to do is provide an education and a framework, so that people then know everything they need to know to go in to make a short, whether it is that next month or whether it's in a year or two. But to empower them, to give them that confidence, really, to know, I know what that term means. I know how to do that. And whether it is a case that they're going to do it for themselves or they're going to seek out a producer to help them, at least then they know the whole arc of the journey that's ahead of them.
Because once you break it down, then it is so much more approachable, right? Because it's like, okay, today I'm looking at doing a budget. Tomorrow I'm gonna email SAG, the first SAG email I have to do, and then it's just one thing at a time, right? Rather than going all this huge undertaking, it's just one practical step at a time, and I think that can be a lot more approachable for first time.
That's amazing.
We're thrilled that you're doing it. It's certainly in line with our values, because to me, this is nurturing leadership, which is just going to be good for your life and for every part of who you are as an artist. So it's exciting.
Is there any last thing you want to say to our audience, young or old actors out there listening and wondering?
Well, I think that maybe the theme of the podcast is listening to the universe.
Oh,
something
God.
Like that. But I really do think that that's kind of what we've been saying. She did say universe.
Yeah, and we've said it again then 3 times. Yeah.
But whatever the nagging thing is, and just let yourself take the next step.
Be open to listening. To that voice. And again, we've said this a couple of times, but give yourself permission. You actually can do that. You don't have to get it from anyone else. And maybe that's giving yourself permission to write that first line, or maybe it's giving yourself permission to ask that person who you've always admired their work if they maybe want to work together. Maybe, you know, it's there's loads of different ways to take a first step, but it feels so good. And then you know, when you say out loud, what am I working on? Because a lot of actors, what's going on? And you go, oh yeah, you know, I had an audition, or no, I haven't auditioned in a while. And it feels so good to say, oh, I'm actually working on a project. I'm in pre-production, or I'm in development. You know, it changes your whole mindset psychologically.
One of the things I've realized, and you remind me of this, is that people out there want to work with each other. There are people who are DPs on TV shows. They've been on the show for 7 years, and some, you know what, on their hiatus, they would love to go make a short film and not have to do what they do on that TV show.
Exactly.
Or, you know, Fred Molina sitting at home, you know, posting Instagram stories of different sunsets, and he gets Dom's.
Is that what he does?
Sometimes. You can respond when you hear this, but and then Dom's email comes in this wonderful script that's written for him, you know, and he goes, yeah, I'll do that. Sure, I'm in between things.
Yeah.
You know, people want to do this, and if you realize that you're part of this huge, wonderful community of artists in this town, or whatever town you're in, who want to get out of whatever little hole they're in, you know, and come and create something together. I just have, I keep being reminded of that, and it's really true. I'm sure you find that.
There's always more people. Like, make a list, and what's the worst that can happen? Someone says no, then okay, next. And
by the way, people say no to you if you're making. People say no to Quentin Tarantino. So
we're as actors, we're all used to no. Like, we know that
we can
feeling.
Deal with that.
So, you know, you're more of a chance of getting a yes on when you're not an actor.
When you're offering them something, right? It feels really, really good to offer people jobs. It feels amazing. Like, I love that, being in that position. It feels more generous. It makes me feel like I'm offering something, giving something, as opposed to in this scarcity mindset of I need other people or structures or things to forward my career. It's a huge.
And when you create that abundance, talk about the universe, and you put that out there, that abundance comes back to you.
And nobody starts as a 50-year-old DP. You know what I mean?
They know where
they've worked up, they've worked, and they know where you've come from, and it's lovely to be able to give back. And people, the majority of people really do want to say yes and will. And that's where a lot of, like we were talking about earlier, the logistics comes in, where you're like, okay, yeah, we have got this great DP, but he's on a show, or she's on a show. So maybe now we have to move the weekend that we were going to shoot, or the dates that we were going to shoot. And, you know, you do, but what a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you both so much for joining us and being a part of this. And we love what you're doing, and just keep doing it, and keep letting the universe speak to you.
Okay, will do.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
We love sharing this content with our community. We offer it 100% free, and it's our privilege to do so. If you're loving this podcast and are interested in offering something in return, go ahead and subscribe to the Acting Podcast. Then find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to your podcast, and leave us an honest rating and review. Your words will help us bring this work to even more actors and artists around the world.
Thank you so much for listening and for being here with us. We love how this community shows up for us and for each other, online and in the studio. And as a thank you to our incredible community, we want to give you an amazing free gift. It's called the Comprehensive Guide to the Perfect Self-Tape.
So all you have to do is screenshot your review, send it to theactingpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll send you an exclusive gift of the Perfect Self-Tape Guide to take your work to the next level.
And come visit us online at thebgbstudio.com. And if you're in LA, Atlanta, or New York, jump into a class with us. We're here to get you into the kind of shape necessary to be successful.